I always find that struggle on vacations, especially at a beach. Like, you're on vacation to relax, so you should sleep in. But also, I like being up early on vacation to, like, go out there and maximize the time on this beach and stuff. It's a hard middle ground to find.
I feel like if I would have continued to sleep, it would have only been for like an hour longer.
Yeah.
So it's
So,
like I really don't feel like I'm missing out that much by getting up at this time.
is everybody else up yet? Or are you the first one?
I saw my mom when I got out of the shower. They're all early birds. I heard The Price is Right going on in Macy and Gilly's bedroom. I was like, what the hell's going on in there?
You can't miss it. Vacation or not, you can't miss Price is Right.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Below Average Joe's MMA show. On fishing. We're back for your guys' recap of UFC 289 as well as the PFL. Dominic, it was back. Was it good? Does PFL continue to go on the downward spiral? We're going to let you all know. Was UFC 289 as bad as everyone says it was going to be? Or was it a pleasant surprise? And we have a ton of takeaways to talk about. We'll let you know all that and more. I'm, of course, Noah Baker. I'm in Panama City Beach, Florida today. The man to my right, he is actually closer to a pool than I am over there in Ohio. Dominic, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How was your sister's dance recital? Let the people know.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic. Very busy weekend for the both of us. I know that, but the recital went well. She crushed it per usual. Wasn't expecting less. I'm a very proud big brother when I get to go to those recitals. I get all emotional. It's a whole big thing. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. They all did great. It was a late one. It was a late one. That's why we're recording this and uploading a couple hours later. Vacation, dance recital, Dom. Put that together. It's all right though. We're here in the studio. It was a good weekend, man. I know you got to your location safely. And yeah, I may be closer to a pool technically, but damn, right outside your window, you got a very, very big pool in a way. So hope you're enjoying it down there thus far as you get ready to kick off vacation mode officially for Noah.
Vacation Noah in full effect. Uh, I will just say I probably won't be stepping into the ocean very much, Dom. Not sure if you've seen the videos going on around on Twitter,
Yeah.
but the sharks, they ain't happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're. I think we fucked with them one too many times, Dom,
Yeah.
because Jaws is becoming a reality where you can't even get to the shallow waters anymore, and you got a goddamn tiger shark nipping at your heels. Ain't happening, Dom. Ain't
I got
gonna
another
catch me
thing actually
slipping.
for you.
Yeah,
Actually, real quick. Right down the road, from you is Destin, like I think 40, 45 minutes. I saw a video on Twitter. There was a bear running around on the beach in the shallow water. So, Noah, you may not have to only watch out for sharks, but bears. So just stay safe out there.
dude, that would be so freaking just ironic. Like, goes to Florida and is worried about getting killed by Burmese pythons and gators and sharks, ends up ends up being killed by a bear.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, just not something I would see coming. But you know who else didn't see it coming, Dominic? That would have been Irene Aldana getting smashed in the main event of UFC 289. But first, I want to remind everyone that they can follow us on social media on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok at the BAJ MMA right above Dom's head if you're watching on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, like, subscribe, ring the bell at the Below Average Shows on YouTube. If you want to listen to audio versions of the podcast, you can do so on Spotify, on Apple, everywhere you can find an audio platform. We don't even know half of them at the Below Average Joe's MMA show on there. So release schedule upcoming. We'll of course be back to more normal programming here. I know we're getting this episode out a little bit later. I am on vacation, so should be able to get the Friday episode out normal. Yesterday I was the drive, that's why it made it so
Hmm.
difficult, but we should be back to being able to get you normal time, normal schedule, Friday and then Monday. So Dominic, anything else before we dive into UFC 289?
To Canada we go.
Yeah. To Canada we go is right. Amanda Nunes once again just showing her dominance against Irene Aldana. She gets the win via unanimous decision, Dominic. It wasn't even close. 50-43? No, 50-44 on two judges' scorecards, 50-43 on the third, I believe. And Dominic, the story of this fight for me was this was way too easy for Amanda Nunes. Just too easy. Aldana never really pushed her. I think Aldana landed one really nice solid punch in the first round when Nunes kind of started charging in. Outside of that, though, Dominic, she literally had nothing. She had nothing. She had nothing to offer here. She looked tentative. She looked like she gave Amanda every bit of respect she could, to the point where it was a detriment to her.
Yes. Yeah.
Amanda Nunes coasted to a victory here. The only thing I'll give Irene Aldana credit for, Dominic, is she is a tough, tough girl, because Nunes was landing clean knees, clean shots that were landing at full force. And Aldana not only wasn't getting finished off these strikes, she was eating them as if they weren't affecting her at all, which was pretty crazy. But when it's all said and done, Dominic, Amanda Nunes, the bigger story here, retires. She announces her retirement post-fight, age 35, rides off into the sunset. We had kind of speculated on if this was a possibility. We've kind of been doing it for a while now. And now that leaves an opening, Dominic, at 135 pounds. A division that we feel has been lacking in upcoming stars and freshness in the title picture. Sure, some of that because Amanda Nunes was such a great and long reigning champion, but more so there just wasn't a lot of credible threats for her in that division. But Dominic, I'll get your thoughts on the fight. And then more importantly, I want to kind of know, what do you sort of make of her retirement? What do you make of her career? And then we'll kind of get into, that vacancy at 135 pounds.
Yeah. So the fight, I mean, virtually a copy and paste from what Noah said. It was just all Amanda the entire way through. She honestly just like played with her food. She just enjoyed being out there one last time, getting that 25 minutes cage time in. She dominated from start to finish, from pillar to post. It reminded me of like that Izzy effect I've talked about a few times, where like she just left Aldana just so flustered. No answers for anything. And Amanda, when you look at the resume, she's done that to people a few times. She did it to Megan Anderson, she did it to Felicia Spencer, she does it here against Aldana. And I was big on Aldana going into this fight. I thought she would offer up a lot more threats than what she did. And she was way too hesitant. Amanda was like feinting takedowns, and once that was in Irene's head, it was over. And that happened in the first round. So it was done and dusted from the first round. Amanda looked amazing. I mean, she retires as the greatest female fighter of all time. 11 title fight victories, 8 title defenses, 2-weight world champion. The resume she has is just leaps and bounds above like other women's mixed martial arts resumes that you will see right now at this current state in the game. It's unbelievable. And very rarely in the sport do we get to see people go out on top. And that is what she gets to do. She gets to join a very elite list of like what, a GSP and a Habib. And really, it's not much larger than that. So it's very rare air that she finds herself in. She's going to be a mom again, her and Nina having a second baby. It just feels right. She wiped out literally two entire divisions. I mean, women's featherweight is essentially going to be dead now, according to Dana in the post-fight presser. So it leaves us with no bantamweight champion, Noah. And that's where we get to dig in a little bit, I think, this morning.
Yeah, for sure. I will just say Amanda Nunes, she's personally in my top 5. I know some people don't give her that credit for some reason. And I get earlier in her career, she had those losses. She did lose to Kat Zingano in the UFC, whatever. But Dominic, you said it. She literally beat every champion who's ever existed in her weight class, every threat that was possible to her throne. I mean, she disposed of them with ease. She even got redemption on the one fight that she lost during that reign to Juliana Pena. But yeah, with that being said, 135 pounds is now kind of thrown into it. It's in a bit of state, Dominic. It reminds me of like when John Jones stepped away from light heavyweight. Maybe a lesser version of that, less exciting version of that. I shouldn't say less exciting. It's less exciting with the current crop of bantamweights. But the excitement comes, in my opinion, from speculating from flyweight. And, we got so many flyweight prospects, Dom.
Yeah.
We got so many flyweight contenders. Flyweight's in such a good state right now. You got to think someone's going to want to make that jump up, right? As it stands, in my opinion, I feel like the title fight, if you were to take two bantamweights who have been bantamweights, I feel like the fight the UFC would look to do is Juliana Pena against Holly Holm. I think that's the fight that they would look to do. Now, Holly Holm would have to beat Mayra Bueno Silva. I should mention that they have a fight upcoming in July. So I guess it'd be the winner of that fight, really, because Mayra Bueno Silva, if she beats Holly Holm, all of a sudden, now maybe she's in there as the fresh face. But I don't think that's what they're going to do. I really think that they're going to look to try to bring someone in from 125 pounds. Some people are probably going to look at you, Dominic, and they'll say, Valentina Shevchenko, right? She just lost her title at 125 pounds. Why don't you come up, take the throne at 135 to finish off your career? However, Dominic, we are going to talk about it a little bit, but there is a card that's been announced in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena in September, and it's for Mexican Independence Day, and likely Alexa Grasso Valentina is going to be somewhere on that card. So I think the most likely candidate, and I freaking hate that Aaron Bronstetter got this out on Twitter already, because I was like all day, like, I can't wait to just throw this out there, be the first one. Dominic, it's Aaron Blanchfield. Aaron Blanchfield is going to go to 135 pounds, and it don't matter who they put in front of her. She's going to be the 135-pound champion. It's likely going to be Juliana Pena, who she's fighting. Juliana Pena talking a big game this week. She is really trying to entice Amanda Nunes to stay for that third fight. I think she's kind of gotten under a lot of people's skin. A lot of the fans are kind of starting to call her annoying and stuff. But, she's just trying to do whatever she can to get that fight. With that being said, can she carry that same level of heat into a matchup with someone who's never been on her radar before, Aaron Blanchfield? Aaron Blanchfield don't play those games, Dom. She goes in there, she'll take you down, she'll smash you and submit you more than likely. What do you think of that potential matchup? And then also tell me if you really buy into this idea that the UFC would give Aaron Blanchfield a bantamweight title shot without fighting in the division first.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, because how many times have we said that this division is super stale? I mean, everybody that even, if you just look at 135 pounds in specific, you're right, Holly is definitely in there as well, but I actually thought Juliana Pena and Raquel Pennington, due to Rocky's win streak of late, would probably have been the 135-pound vacant fight. But they've both already been there, and they've lost those. I mean, Julie did become the champion, but then got smashed in the rematch. Rocky lost to Amanda. So if you're going to take two people from there, or even Holly, and make it three, yes, that's fine. But if you add in Aaron Blanchfield, that makes things a lot more fun all of a sudden, because it's a new addition to the weight class, which they need. And it's someone who's been dominating down at flyweight, and she could be the youngest female champion in the company's history, and second youngest ever, even after behind John Jones, which is very impressive. And I'll just say this to add on to that September 16th card that Noah mentioned. One way or another, Alexa Grasso is likely going to be fighting on that card. Let's say Aaron, for some reason, gets a flyweight title fight. All right, fine. Bring Valentina back to 135. If they're running the rematch between her and Valentina, boom, Aaron Blanchfield to 135. One of them two have to come up to 135 pounds and fight, I think, in the vacant bantamweight title fight, to make things a lot more interesting, a lot more fun. And, this might sound crazy too, but even a world where Valentina and Aaron Blanchfield both fought each other for the vacant bantamweight title would be a lot more enticing and intriguing than some of the matchups at 135. It sounds mean, but it's just the fact of the matter and the way that the state of the division is right now. But no, I'm all here for that Aaron Blanchfield vacant fight.
Yeah, and it just seems like it's Juliana Pena, because that's what Dana said would make sense, because she was originally scheduled in the main event here with Amanda. So Dana acted like she's the one that makes the most sense. You're right, though. If you go off of who earned it, you do Rocky Pennington should be fighting somebody. But Dominic, if you already have a weight class that's struggling really hard, just can't really get its footing, and then you lose your long reigning champion, and now you have a bunch of contenders who nobody really cares about. Putting Juliana Pena against Raquel Pennington is a death sentence, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
bad way to start off your post Amanda. Um,
Era.
two girls that got smashed by Amanda Nunes. In case you wanted to make it clear, which I know Holly Holm did too. Holly Holm at least has the factor of being someone who has been at that peak of
Right.
the division before knocking out Ronda Rousey. Don't get me wrong. I do not want to see it. I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that this is probably what the UFC would do. Um, maybe they would put if Juliana couldn't do it whenever they wanted. Maybe you do that home Raquel Pennington fight for what, the third time?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just going to put butts in the seats. So, with that being said, yeah, if Aaron Blanchfield's not involved in this title fight, Dominic, it's going to, yes, will it feel more credible? As will it feel more earned? Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but will it feel as exciting to me? No, I'm not accepting anything less than Aaron Blanchfield at this point.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. And she's beaten now a prominent name in Jessica Andrade, who used to be at 135 at least. Like she
Mhm.
has a solid resume that stacks up against any of these veterans of 135 pounds, whether she's been in their weight class or not. That's just the fact of the matter. The names she has are just as valuable as all these other ladies. So it makes plenty of sense, and it adds freshness and excitement, which is what this division has lacked for really a very long time at this point. Ever since Amanda's been champion, because she's just beaten
Yeah.
every single person. So
Let me ask you this: if Blanchfield does make that move, and maybe if Valentina loses to Grasso again, and then maybe she makes that move, like, do you think that's going to start kind of this trend of flyweights moving up? Like, could you see a lot of these flyweights moving up in weight because they kind of feel like, maybe it'll get them to a title shot quicker, and maybe we have this youth movement at 135 pounds? Or do you think that outside of maybe those two, the majority of the playing field kind of stay where they are and chase for their respective divisions?
I'd like to think a majority would stay just because of like the actual size of them. I know like Caitlin Chukagian's been at bantamweight before. Lauren Murphy could probably do bantamweight. Obviously, you still have Jessica Andrade. Knowing her, she'd fight all the way at featherweight if she could. She'll fight anybody. So there's a few names, but I think a majority would stay. And Noah, I hope that a majority would stay because we love women's flyweight right now. Please, everybody, don't all leave. We need to see this division play out and let
Right.
this thing go for a few years. It is so healthy right now. It is the best women's weight class in the UFC right now. So I think there's definitely a couple that could go, especially like those older ones that maybe don't want to cut the extra 10 pounds anymore. Maybe they do try 135 again. But all in all, the young guns, I think, stay the next few years at 125. And even like
Okay.
if Aaron were to go down or go up, I should say, I would still like to see her play out her career at 125 as well, because that is like her weight class that we've seen her climb thus far. Like she could be, for all we know, a two-weight world champion. So I still want to have that to hold on to as well for her future.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, that is interesting because it kind of feels like Blanchfield fits so well at 125 pounds that you kind of just want to see her play it
I
out there.
know. Yeah.
But we'll worry about that's a tomorrow problem. That's a 2024 problem. Let's just get this title into like good hands to
Yeah.
start off the next generation. Okay.
Yes, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Let's get into the co-main event, Dominic, where Charles Oliveira, Du Bronx, gets me my redemption. He
Yeah. Yeah.
he gets his web redemption with the first round TKO of Beneil Dariush, 4 minutes 10 seconds in. Dominic, this fight was about what I expected it to be. It felt like you had watched an entire 3-round fight in 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Charles never got hurt, but he did get taken down, got controlled for a couple of those minutes. But Dominic, when this fight was on the feet, Charles he had Beneil just kind of like a deer in headlights a little bit. Like as soon as Charles threw that first head kick and it kind of snuck through, I think Dariush realized like, oh shit, you
Yeah.
know. And the only reason that Beneil even got the takedown was because Charles was the one that initiated it,
Yeah.
and then kind of got dragged down to the bottom. Beneil, we know, is an amazing ground specialist, but I think he just seemed so like he showed no sense of urgency, Dom. And I think that's just kind of been Beneil the last few fights is he's been fine with kind of letting things go to full 15 minutes. He stays composed, doesn't get himself overexcited, overeager, doesn't rush in, anything like that. But when you're going up against a guy who's almost your complete antithesis, he's almost a complete opposite of Beneil Dariush in that he's always got his foot on the gas. He's
Mm-hmm.
always looking for the finish. He's always jumping in, getting overeager. He takes those risks that Beneil has probably not been willing to take in his last few fights. Sometimes that hurts you, like it did when Oliveira fought Islam, and then sometimes you get this kind of fight where Oliveira looks like he is a level above the rest of the lightweights outside of Islam Makhachev. Dominic, your thoughts on the fight? I know you were a little more in the middle on this one than I was. How walking away from this, how much of this was this a reminder to yourself that Charles Oliveira of how good he is?
Yeah, I was literally about to start my kind of talking piece here by saying, if y'all forgot, here's your reminder of how good
Y'all
Charles
must have
Oliveira.
forgot.
Yeah, because I mean, the stat that's going around right now, he broke another UFC record, by the way, 20 finishes, and I think it was actually his 20th post-fight bonus as well. That dude's racking in money just off of bonuses alone. He is unbelievable and still so young in terms of age. Yes, the fight years are crazy, but it shows that it's still working for him. Not only has this man beaten everybody in the top 5, he's finished them, Noah. And there's only one piece left for that puzzle, and that is the rematch with Islam Makhachev. But first off, this fight, I mean, what more can you even say? Charles do Bronx can do it all. I remember Justin Gaethje saying that when Charles Oliveira hit him, it was the hardest he felt he had ever been hit. Well, it shows again here by knocking out Beneil Dariush, and it started on the feet. Like, this man, known for his jiu-jitsu and his submissions, he's got hands, he's got feet, he's got power in his arsenal, man. It's crazy to have watched this career of Charles Oliveira and what it's culminated into these last 2 or 3 years. It's unbelievable. I feel for Beneil Dariush. I do. He went on this huge streak. He never got to fight for that title. Now he loses here. I don't think it necessarily puts him out of the running forever, but it definitely hurts just because of the name value already wasn't in his favor. So I don't know. It could turn into like a Tony Ferguson type situation for Beneil, where he never got to really fight for that big one. I know Tony had like the interim fight and the vacant fight, but still kind of the same vibe with the win streak and never actually being the champion. So we'll see what happens for Beneil, but the story's all with Bronx and what he's done. And like, we talked about it on our preview episode where I was kind of not indifferent, but necessarily like who I felt was going to be next for Islam's throne. But then I can't help but feel that after this result, there's only one right answer, and it is Charles Oliveira. Noah, give me your thoughts on the aftermath of this one.
Yeah, I mean, I said that if Beneil had won, I was less confident he would get a title shot than if Charles won here, and I think it comes down to kind of the styles and how the fashion that they may have won this fight, and also the fact that Charles Oliveira, Dominic, you saw the reception he got. This man has turned himself into a bona fide star. This was in Canada. Charles Oliveira has no connection to Canada. He's actually, Dominic, fun fact, Charles Oliveira was apparently 0-4 in Canada going into this fight. So for him to get this like heroes, reception was amazing. And it just goes to show that the quality of his fights have built him this fandom. He's got the style, but he backs it up with his performances in the cage, and he's not afraid to lose. Like that's what that's what's made me such a big fan of him. That's what made others such a big fan of him, is that he's willing to go out on his shield. He's willing to go in there and kill or be killed, for lack of a better phrase. And that's paid dividends for him. He already had one of the most fun lightweight title runs, one of the most fun title runs I can remember in my live watching experience. And now Dominic, with that win over Beneil Dariush, I'm ready to say I think he's one of the best lightweights of all time. I mean, I think that, outside of a Habib, BJ Penn, like I think he fits right in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are probably still gonna, you look at the 10 losses or 9, whatever he has. You look at some of the losses he had early in his UFC career. Of course, that'll hold him back from like GOAT rankings. I will never be able to say he's better than Habib on an all-time list just because 29-0, all that. But no, he is. I mean, this is what I was talking about, Dom, on Thursday. I did not understand these odds at all.
Mm-hmm.
Beneil Dariush, I get it, 8-fight winning streak, but people love to throw those out there without really digging into the detail.
Yeah.
When you looked at Beneil Dariush's resume, Dom, his 2 best wins were Mateusz Gamrot and Tony Ferguson, and the Mateusz Gamrot fight was very, very impressive for him.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Ferguson was an impressive performance in a different way, but I think it hasn't aged as well because Tony has just never looked like Tony since the Charles fight before that. Charles Oliveira, Dominic, had went through the gauntlet. I mean, we're talking Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier. Then he even fought Islam Makhachev. Not to mention before that, I think a win over the Tony that he beat and the Kevin Lee that he beat maybe aren't quite on the level of Mateusz Gamrot, but they're not that far from it.
Right.
So this is why, again, there's levels to this game. I love Beneil Dariush, but Dominic, it cannot be overstated how, what's the word I'm looking for here? Devastating this loss is for his career, because you didn't go as far to say it, because I know you're trying to be nice, Dom. I think that's the nail in the coffin. He's never going to fight for a title.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, he probably will come back and win. If he were to come back and win 3-4 more fights, sure. But in order to get that title fight, he's probably going to have to go through somebody like Charles, like Islam, like, another absolute killer in this division to do it. I don't think he's going to get a very favorable matchup next time out. We can kind of speculate on that. But with that being said, Charles Oliveira is the front runner for the title shot. Dana kind of even so much as said, without saying it, I don't make fights the night of the fight. He was sort of saying that's the fight that makes sense. I think it makes sense. Islam acknowledged it on Twitter. Had a nice tweet for Charles. I like that. But I will just say, I'm still leaving the door open, Dom, that if Dustin and Justin go in there and tear the absolute house down, and if Dustin Poirier were to come out looking like an absolute phenom, a stud, if it was like one of the best fights ever, and Dustin gets his hand raised, I could see Dustin Poirier getting some shine, and all of a sudden he's now in the place for the title fight. Like, I could, as much as I'm confident in Charles, and, we're so in the moment, right? Right now, it's like it doesn't feel like anybody could pass Charles
after that performance.
Fight. But then on July 29th, if Dustin has an amazing performance, everybody's gonna forget that Charles just did what he did a month ago, because the game moves so fast, and then all of a sudden Dustin is the guy everybody's clamoring for. So for now, I'll say 85% chance that Charles Oliveira gets that shot, and I'll leave 15% for if Dustin were to win in July.
And now, no, I love when we talk percentages, because I got to bring up a third wrench in that plan. On July 8th, Alexander Volkanovski defending against Yair. If he wins, could he squeak in and get the rematch as well with Islam Makhachev? We would potentially have 2 rematch opportunities at that point. Which one, from a fan's perspective, would you prefer? Volk Islam 2 or Islam and Oliveira 2?
Well, okay, I'm biased, so I'm definitely going to say Oliveira 2. But I think it's clear the majority of the audience, of the fan base, will probably pick Volkanovski 2, because it was a closer fight. And I can't blame anybody for thinking that way. And it's champion versus champion. I mean, if Volkanovski loses his title to Yair, I think that shuts the door on it for now.
Yes.
Not that it can't happen in the future, because if if Volkanovski decides he just wants to move up in general, then that could
Right.
definitely happen. But assuming he wins, you still got the champion versus champion. It's just weird. The UFC is not even nobody's really talking about that over there right now. You know,
Yeah.
do you kind of notice that? Like, not a whole lot of talk about that fight. Maybe it'll ramp up if
As we get
Volkanovski does
ready.
something impressive against Jair.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Dominic, I could see that being a fight they hold off for like a, I don't know, UFC 300 maybe.
Okay. So you think you
So
would still hold Dustin at a higher percentage even with a Volk win then, you feel?
probably not, but
Okay.
I just wasn't really thinking. I was thinking of like guys in
Right.
the division, but let's be clear. I mean, Charles is probably going to get the shot,
No, I
and he
believe
should,
so.
and I
Yeah.
think he should. I think it's warranted.
Yeah.
With the title reign he went on, I know, missed weight because he got kind of fucked, and then beat Justin didn't count as a title defense, but I look at that whole run as being his title run, and it was so much fun. It was like highlight reel after highlight reel. It was a guy showing that he was the best in the world. He did it over 3 different fights. He lost. He didn't get an immediate rematch. I don't like immediate rematches, but he goes and looks impressive against a guy who a lot of people thought should have gotten a title shot.
Mhm.
Now I feel like he's right back in the driver's seat to get one himself. That's all it takes, Tom. That's all I'm asking for. Just
Yeah.
just go take another fight. I'm not asking for much here.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I think that's the fight. You add in all the things he did during the run, the resume that he has, stopping a Beneil Dariush on this amazing win streak that he was on. You have the rematch storyline already. Two really, really, really big stars in the company. All stars are aligning for an Abu Dhabi rematch between those two.
Who does Beneil fight next?
I like assuming Arman Saryukian wins this week. I think Arman and Beneil would be a pretty good fight.
Hmm.
That would make sense. I think Arman, if he wins, he's already fighting someone that we were like, what the fuck's going on with this matchup? But we kind of said it seems like maybe just no one wants to fight Arman, and so he just decided to take a fight. And maybe Beneil wouldn't want to fight Arman either. But if I had to pick one, that's what I would do. Arman, assuming he wins, versus Beneil. And honestly, even if Silva were to beat Arman, then shit, maybe he can fight Beneil as well. But I'm just assuming.
Give me Fazayev and Beneil
Yeah, that's a
Dariush.
great one too. Yeah.
UFC like to do the loser versus loser, winner versus winner matchmaking. I feel like two guys coming off of losses, but both still in great position to make a run. I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's a clash of styles, to be honest.
It'd give me Fazeev and RDA vibes to a certain extent. I think that'd be a great
Yeah,
matchup. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Let's get into the rest of UFC 289. I mean, Dominic, should we just start with Canada as a whole?
6-0. Wow.
Yeah, because I guess you count Diana Belbita, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
she is not technically from Canada, but she trains there, like
Yep.
claims it kind of. So, um, which I mean, what's really the definition of being from somewhere? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like,
Right. Right.
so yeah, fully 6-0. I think it's really cool. You get these cards sometimes, Dom. I've heard people talking about this where, like London, the first London card last year, or some people have talked about when McGregor went to Dublin,
Mm-hmm.
where it like slowly builds. Like the first home country fighter gets the
Mm-hmm.
win, and then it sprinkles and sprinkles,
Yep.
snowballs and snowballs and snowballs, and the crowd just gets more and more into it to where they are absolutely ravenous for the last fight. I mean, your last guy up was Mike Malott, and
Wow.
he, Dominic, is all of a sudden we need to talk about him as like
We
a
gotta.
legit threat, not
Yeah.
just a prospect, Dom.
Yeah.
I was like, I wish I would have really threw this out there after his last win because I was like, man, this guy, like,
It's
he
fucking
really
good.
has something.
Yeah.
And then this fight, now everybody's kind of caught on, but like, I look at that guy, Dominic. Tell me he's not one of the 15 best in his division in the world.
Oh, you're not gonna hear me say no
And
to that.
honestly, Dominic, when it's all said and done, I think he might be closer to 1 than 15.
What we got? We're talking 172. You look at the state of this division right now. I'm looking at especially like 10 through 15 through 3 fights. How can you not tell me Mike Malott doesn't belong in there? And you add in 100% finish rate. The dude is destroying these people, and he looks so good. He looks so well-rounded. It's not like he just goes in and like bum rushes somebody and gets a big knockout. He looks very, very well composed, and then bam, opportunity there. It presents itself. He capitalizes on it. That's what he's done in 3 UFC fights. It's what he did in the Contender Series. This man's a player, Noah. I couldn't help but feel any other way after that victory on Saturday night.
Yeah, he was given a big placement on this card, and I think a lot of people looked at it, and he was one of the things that people were. His fight with Adam Fugitt was being looked at as one of those fights where it was bringing down this main card. Like people looked at it and were like, "Who are these guys?" You know, like this isn't going to make a pay per view worth $85 or whatever they're fucking charging now. And then they go in there, and Mike Malott just looks like an absolute star in
It was
front
one of
of
the
his
best performances
people.
on the whole card.
And for a guy that's normally so reserved and kind of, I mean, he's got that Canadian trait about him of being very nice. He gets on the mic, Dom, and really feeds into the energy that the people are giving him. Yeah, I thought this was just a great night I think this really boosted the card, the pay-per-view. Was you had that snowball effect. I think the matchmakers deserve a shout out too, because most of those wins for Canada, Dom, weren't they underdogs?
Yeah, a lot. They were underdogs were barking heavily, and a lot of
Yeah.
them were Canadian fighters. Yeah,
And I mean, so the matchmakers did a great job because they didn't do a lot of gimme matchups, but yet Canada still comes out winning every matchup here. From Deanna Belbita, who Dominic kind of threw in as a live bet, which I was surprised when I saw that because I really was like not touching that fight. I had no confidence either way, but she looked very good. Then we had Kyle Nelson getting a unanimous decision win over Blake Bilder. Aiemann Zahabi getting the first round 64-second KO of Aoriqileng, which, by the way, Zahabi didn't get a fight a performance
yeah,
bonus. I mean,
that's
what the hell's
insane.
going on there?
Yeah,
Then Jasmine
dude,
Jasudavicius. What I mean,
she like
first
almost
round,
dominated Miranda Maverick.
kind of ho hum with Miranda
Yeah,
Maverick, and then second and third round, Dom.
woo.
Whew. Yeah, that's all you could say. Whew. Then we had on the main card Marc-Andre Barriault and Eryk Anders go to war. That was a really fun fight. And
Much better
Mark
than anticipated.
both guys showing a lot of durability, you know, and not that they haven't before, but you know, Eryk Anders, man, that dude just can take a beating. Former University of Alabama linebacker. By the way, the best live bet I think I've ever been able to put in
I
terms of
was
value.
stunned at the odds you
Plus
got.
200 for Marc-Andre Barriault at the end of round 2. Dominic, I thought he won the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and especially because they ended up not even taking the point away. So then when you add that in, why was he ever close to plus 200?
Yeah.
I saw that you did that. I'm like, man. And that turned out to be the winning factor for Noah this week.
Yep.
We'll talk about it later, but
Yep.
holy shitballs, man. I can't believe it. You've done that, though, even before we were competing. You hit it with Marvin Vittori, a line that just made no sense.
Yeah, made no sense. Alexa Grasso at plus 600 when she had won the first round of their fight with Valentina. I was like, look, maybe she'll lose every round from here. But if she just won the first round pretty easily,
why is she this high? Yeah.
Or maybe it was the second round. It was like 1-1 after 2 rounds or something, and she was plus 600. I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Now we got somebody's ringer going off outside. Hopefully nobody hears that. But lastly, Mike Malott submission went over Adam Fugitt. Overall, Canada just come out looking very good here. So I thought they deserved the shout out, Dom, and the rest of UFC 289. And I'll kind of let you kind of build from that, much like the fighters did and the crowd did on this card. Anywhere else you want to go for UFC 289?
Well, real quick, for the Mike Malott, one last thing. When Noah said it snowballs and builds and builds and builds, and you feel it in the crowd, it built up so much the damn fans tore down the guardrail when Mike Malott was coming out of the arena. That was some crazy stuff. I'm glad everybody's okay though. But yeah, I mean, outside of the Canadian fighters, which is really basically the rest of the card, the only other fight I guess we even touch on would be, well, actually, you know, to me, Dan Ige did what I felt he was supposed to do. So, like, takeaway wise, I don't have a lot for that fight. So, I actually want to go to Steve Urseg at the bottom of the card. Comes in on
Okay.
short notice, debuts against 10th ranked in the world, David Dvorak, and beats him. I mean, in a very good fight, yes, but Steve really had his way and really, really looked good in this bout. He's a very long, lanky guy for flyweight, fighting out of Australia. I saw a Casey O'Neill tweet about him before the fight was getting ready to start, and I'm like, all right, okay, maybe I'm regretting putting Dvorak on a parlay right now, but he looked great, man. And I think if you're debuting on short notice and win, I think it's always great regardless. But when you add in the competition that you're coming in against to get a win, I think that's even more impressive. So, we love giving flyweight the respect and shouts that it deserves. So that's why I wanted to give Steve Urseg that same shout and respect that he deserves. I'm excited to see what we can get here from this man down at 125.
Yeah, he's a top 15 flyweight for sure. And came out of nowhere for me. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I made the mistake, Dom, of everybody was sharing the picture of him and kind of, clowning his appearance and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, David Dvorak's pretty good. I'm like, I throw it on a parlay.
Mm-hmm.
Give me an easy win. And I
Yeah.
saw the way Urseg fought, man. Even like Dvorak had a great round 2 for like the first half. And then all of a sudden Urseg just takes over. And
Yeah.
round 3, much of the same. Yeah, great performance for him. It was a good fight too. It's kind of a great way to introduce himself to the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Dan Ige looked very good against Nate Landwehr. We'll talk about Blazin Bets and stuff, but that one particularly was that was a tough fight for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But before we get into Blazin Bets and all that, Dominic, let's talk about PFL.
Yeah. Let us not forget.
And I'll just go ahead and say, Dominic, I think this was the best PFL card of the season. What do you think?
Oh yeah, not even close. It was
Yeah.
much better. Yeah, even after all the shit they had to go through to get to here,
Yeah.
they needed this card the way it went
And you
down.
know what? I kind of was like, okay, I could stop, poo pooing on the
Let's
PFL.
take a break.
I mean, you have to, of course, talk about Jesus Pinedo getting the first round knockout with the knee to the face of last year's champion, Brendan Loughnane. And Dominic, with that loss, Brendan Loughnane has
Wow.
missed the
Wow.
playoffs. Missed it.
That's crazy.
That's what makes the PFL season so interesting.
Yeah.
Is that's all it takes. Like he
Yeah.
had a second round finish in his first fight against Marlon Moraes. And because he lost here, he's done. Done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It definitely adds more, like, when you kind of see it like in let's just use the NFL playoff picture for an example. Going into these weeks, you see all the different scenarios. How can this team make the playoffs? What seed can they get? Same vibe here happening throughout the card. They're showing, okay, if he does this in this round by this time, he can get in, so on and so forth. Chris Wade got a second round submission win over Ryuji Kudo. He was in up until this finish happened. They panned to Chris Wade. His team was all excited at first because Brendan lost, and he's like, no, guys, wait. Jesus just passed me in points. I'm not in all of a sudden. So it's a very cool feeling when things like this happen. What an underdog victory for Jesus Pinedo here. Allow me to reintroduce myself. It's perfect. You look at Jesus's record. I mean, the guy is pretty solid, but you just wouldn't think it going into this fight. I mean, he lost his first bout in the first matchups of the regular season, and he dethrones the former champion, eliminates Brendan Loughnane, the Joey, from even being in the playoffs. Man, that was one of the best storylines the PFL's had really in the past few years, especially when you talk underdog victories.
Now people are talking.
Yeah,
there's whispers that the Joey may be cursed.
It's like the new Madden cover.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who we pick this year. We're gonna have fighters like advocating to not get the Joey. It's like, please spare me. I'm trying to have a good career next year.
Yeah.
It was a great card, Dominic. I will say, outside of the fights themselves, big thing that I thought was awesome, but also a huge missed opportunity you had Deontay Wilder on this
They
broadcast.
did. They did.
And I thought that was awesome. They bring him on. Deontay Wilder, of course, not being fully committed to anything, but did seem to enjoy the idea of doing a 1-on-1, doing a boxing fight with Francis Ngannou, and then coming over into MMA. Dominic, they have to throw the truck at Deontay Wilder. They have to. They have to. We keep talking about, who's the options, who are we gonna go with here? Like, it's someone who likely isn't in the PFL now, because your best PFL heavyweight's Bruno Capoloza, who just popped for
Yeah.
PEDs, and
Yeah. Yeah.
even if you go outside of him, you're talking about last season's champion Ante Delia. What kind of fight is that going to
Right.
be pay-per-view wise? It just doesn't sell like that. And then you look at the free agents. What, Fabricio Verdum, Junior
Yeah.
Dos Santos,
No.
Alistair Overeem, guys that Francis have already sent to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you look at okay, who could be becoming a free agent in the UFC, but it's not going to be anybody worth the juice will not be worth the squeeze for anybody the UFC is just going to let walk. This is their best option by far. Deontay Wilder. Again, am I saying it's going to break the house down pay-per-view wise? No, but it is a legitimate thing they can build to. You start with the boxing fight, Dom.
Yep. Yep.
For all you know, maybe Francis goes in there and performs very well. Maybe he even fucking knocks out Deontay Wilder. All of a sudden, that PFL pay-per-view fight between
That's
those two,
big.
all of a sudden you have all that time. You have a fight in boxing to kind of let it build and build and build. That could be pretty big. So I was really excited to see that. However, the more I thought about it, Dom, I went, oh my God. How did they not have Francis Ngannou?
Yeah. Why
and
was he
have him
not
face
there?
off? They didn't
How
have
was
him
he not
face
there?
off.
Dude,
How
it was
did they not have him face off? This is the first card since he signed with
since
the
he
PFL.
signed, and he wasn't there.
Why were they not facing off, Dom? Remember what happened when Mike Perry faced off with Conor McGregor and
The
bare
whole
knuckle,
world. Yeah. Yeah.
and everybody knew that fight would never happen. This is a fight that you have in your grasp.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason Deontay Wilder was there. No, he wouldn't just be there to be there. You know what I mean? Like, surely there's something going on in the background to have him there. They had my man putting on PFL gloves. He was talking
Yeah.
a big game. He was all excited. Randy Couture was talking to him and everything. Why would you not have if he's there? I feel like it automatically adds a 10% boost to the probability that the fight can happen just by them being there to face off. We called for Francis to do something the remainder of this year since he's not fighting in the PFL till next year. Bam, they box, like Noah said. Do it sometime in the fall or the winter time. Bam, they headline the first super fight card in 2024. Boom, I'm using a lot of expressions here, but that is what needs to happen. Dare I say, it makes too much sense.
You're sounding like the goddamn Adam West Batman show over there. Bam, thwop, yeah, it's a little frustrating. A lot of frustrating, because it's like I was so excited to see him, and then I'm like, oh my God, what a huge missed opportunity. But I also took notice of the fact, now it makes a lot of sense why Dana White keeps talking about John Jones versus Tyson Fury. He must have heard that this is what the PFL want to do. He had to have.
Yeah.
He had to have heard this, because it makes a lot of sense why the PFL would want this. This is about as big of a free agent as you can get. Tyson Fury's just been so wishy-washy on the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's calling for fights with John Jones,
yeah.
that he's never actually going to do. But and I was wondering, Dana just said when Francis signed with the PFL, he said, we don't do those kind of fights here. We did the McGregor Mayweather thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was the right time.
Yeah.
He goes, but we're not doing that again. 2
2
weeks later.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of a sudden he's like, Tyson Fury, you want to prove who the best man on the planet is? And then Dominic, it's getting really weird. Why does Dana keep saying that they paid Floyd? He's like, we found a way to pay Floyd. I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't pay Floyd. You didn't pay Floyd.
Yeah.
Now, and honestly, if they did, doesn't that just make it look worse of why they always have to can't pay their fighters? I'm like, so wait a minute, you're telling me you paid Floyd, help pay part of what, his $200 million purse? and you're telling me you can't pay your fighters more? I'm just saying, like, I don't know the ins and outs of that contract. I don't know, but they were co-promoters, Dom. They didn't pay
Yeah.
Floyd nothing.
Yeah.
So I this is all weird, and Dana's just being petty as shit. And like now I'm kind of seeing why. Like it's like, oh, that's why. Okay. It's because Ngannou and Wilder may happen. But sorry, Dana, Jones and Fury will never happen. It just won't.
But imagine in 2024, there's a world where we're seeing Francis Ngannou fight Deontay Wilder and John Jones fighting Tyson Fury. Holy moly.
I don't
Wouldn't
know.
that be
It would be exciting, but also I'd be like,
what?
shouldn't you two be mixing up opponents here? Like, shouldn't you guys?
We
I
got
feel like
something went wrong here.
it's like the Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa matchups, that they have coming up. It's like, shouldn't you guys be like
Yeah.
fighting? I feel like someone messed up the paperwork here and they got some matchups wrong.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting. It's funny. But it's so goofy. Dana, come on, man. We love you. We love what you do, man. Don't be going out there saying you're paying Floyd Mayweather. We know you lying, motherfucker. Don't even talk like that.
Oh man, it was crazy stuff.
But as far as the way the PFL shakes up for the playoffs, I wanted to talk about that. Back to the
playoff
card.
picture.
Bubba Jenkins, your number one seed, Dom. Shout out to Bubba Jenkins. He liked one of our tweets, by the
Yes,
way.
he did. Yeah.
He's taking on Jesus Pinedo, who knocked out Brendan Loughnane. And then Gabriel Alves Braga, Dom, who got the first round knockout of Marlon Moraes, sent him back into retirement.
Yeah.
Will be taking on Movlid Haibulayev, who is an absolute stud, in his own right. He got a real big win here. This was his only fight of the season, I think. That's why he is only like third in the rankings. I think that was his only fight of the season, right?
Well, he beat Kudo by decision.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
but he would only had 3 going in, so he needed to finish.
And then on the light heavyweight side of things, Dom, Josh Silveira, your number one seed, taking on Ty Flores, and then Martin Hamlet taking on Impa Kazaganai.
He got in, baby.
For Dominic, I'm just gonna say, I know like not having Rob Wilkinson and maybe a Thiago Santos if he had came out here and looked good. I get it. It hurts. But also, like, I look at the guys on here, like Ty Flores is kind of the one where I'm like not as interested. But Josh Silveira, Martin Hamlet, Impa Kazaganai, I'm kind of down for these light heavyweight playoffs, Dominic. I've been talking up Silveira for a while. Impa Kazaganai is a guy me and you've liked going back from the Contender Series.
Yep.
I'm okay. I sign off on these playoffs. I've seen worse in the PFL playoffs.
Oh yeah, for sure. And name value aside or whatever the case, the storyline would be, it's a lot just more open. Like I don't know who's going to win. It would be one of those 3, right? And maybe even Ty Flores could pull off the upset and make his way to winning $1 million. But it's awesome that, especially when you factor in that Impa's first fight was just one of those like showcase bouts. But then all this stuff goes down, so he gets inputted in for his second fight, and he gets a second round finish to get enough points to put himself in. A Contender Series alum who kind of went wins losses in the UFC. I think that's an awesome opportunity for him.
Well, Dominic, he only earned his contract from the Challenger Series, the Challenger
Yeah, that's
Series.
true. He was on the Challenger Series for the PFL as well. Yeah, very good point. And featherweight, I think is all of a sudden it was already fun. Like I didn't think Brennan would run away, but I definitely favored him to beat most people, especially when you look at who would have been in because he's already beaten a few. But now you have Pinedo and Jenkins coming off the biggest wins that they've had, and especially for Pinedo. Like that's a really interesting matchup. You look at the other one with Gabriel Braga, who's undefeated, if I'm not mistaken, and he's taken on Movlid Kubalayev, who also has never lost. I mean, that's a super intriguing matchup as well. Like I lean Movlid. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Coming for the second strap, but I can't tell you that I'm not at least intrigued to see how some of these matchups play out. I think really like both of these, I'm down for it. I'm down.
Can I just say I feel like out of all 4 of the guys in the playoffs, I feel like Braga is the toughest matchup for Movlid.
Yeah.
And yet I still think like if Bubba and Braga fought, I feel like Bubba puts up a pretty good fight there. It's not that like I think the winner of that fight is inevitably going to win the season. I just
Mm-hmm.
think matchup wise, Braga kind of offers some things to move lead, but I do favor move lead, but
Yeah.
um, Bubba Jenkins looked damn good too, though, man. That guy always just like he's good for a performance like that in every season where you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, whew, in case you forgot, Bubba Jenkins is about it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it got to me feeling a bit optimistic for the PFL again. I wanted that. I wanted a good card to kind of be able to sink my teeth into. A lot of first round finishes on here,
Mm-hmm.
Dom. Good on the PFL. Hopefully they can carry that momentum to the
I know.
next
I
week.
hope the next two can just continue to build it for
Yeah.
the playoffs in the fall.
Yeah. Headlines, Dominic. Just a couple real quick. September 16th, Dana White confirmed T-Mobile Arena. There will be a card to celebrate Mexican Independence Day. Dominic, Dana had said they dropped the ball when it came to Cinco de Mayo. I'm still not sure, and maybe there is some confirmation out there about this, if this is going to be a pay-per-view or if they're doing just a big fight night, because
Yeah.
Valentina's been on fight nights before when she was champion. So if they wanted to do Alexa Valentina, are they just going to make it like a big fight night? Or are they going to do the back-to-back pay-per-views like we were talking about, Dom? It is obvious, though, if you're in Vegas, you're the UFC, you're doing a card that's originally scheduled a fight night, and you're doing it in T-Mobile instead of the Apex.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're wanting to go pretty big for it. Um, Outside of that title fight, I mean, I know they're going to put a lot of Mexican talent on this card, but I don't know if we'll necessarily see another title on this
Yeah. I
card.
don't think the
So,
scheduling works.
but I feel like Grasso Shevchenko would be a perfect headliner for that. I feel like that's what the one you have to try to get on that card.
Yeah, that has to be like the front runner as the main event. And as Noah said, they'll fill it out with plenty of prospects. There's a lot of Mexican talent right now. I mean, obviously we've seen it with the champions, but look past them. There's a ton of young up and coming talents that are stringing together win streaks and good performances. I'll be interested to see though if it will be back to back pay per views, or should I say back to back numbered events. The last time they went back to back, one of them was free. I think it was in 2021. So I don't know kind of what the plan would be, but we shall see. And also, I think something to keep in mind here, if they were to make this a numbered event, that would make it 294, because 293 is the one on September 9th. All of a sudden, the UFC, you may not think it's a big deal, people, but they are strategically thinking about when and where UFC 300 will take place. So
Yeah.
being if it's a numbered event or not actually does make a big difference for their schedule. So
Yeah, I will say I thought they would try to stretch things out more over the
yeah,
last year or two because UFC 100 and 200 were International Fight Week, and now
yeah,
300 is looking like it's going to be in like March or April.
right,
So that's interesting, but maybe they look at it like, well, International Fight Week's always a big card for us. Now we
true,
get like two cards for at the same kind of
yeah.
looking at million plus buys potentially. So
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of smart. Um, yeah, I mean I'm excited for it though. I'm interested to see what they kind of do for it. How about this one though, Dominic?
Golly, man.
Um, what's going on with Conor McGregor and this Miami Heat mascot, Dominic? That second punch was just so
No,
unnecessary.
that was
That's
the
so
Dan Henderson to Michael Bisping treatment, man. That's what that was.
man. Connor just I think he saw red a little bit, Dominic. I think he goes to the Miami Heat game. They're having him. He was advertising something. What the hell was he advertising? Like dick pills or something? What the hell was he doing?
I don't know
Or
what
he's
he was
partnering.
advertising.
This wasn't proper 12. It was something else. I thought. I don't know. He's got some business
Mm,
venture he's doing.
who knows? The guy's
Whatever.
actually
He's
approaching
like
a billionaire.
sponsoring the Heat, or I don't know.
Yeah,
It's Connor, right? I
yeah.
don't care. But they have him out there, and he gave old I don't know what the Miami Heat's mascot's name is, but he gave him the old left hand that's put down so many before him. The same left hand Dom that put down Jose Aldo, put down the Miami Heat mascot, and then just like with Aldo, McGregor lands a follow up shot on the ground,
That's had to be
sent
what
the
did it.
mascot to the hospital,
Wow, what a story
which
to
is
tell, though.
I mean, this is crazy, Dom. I mean, I want to know, like, did they take him to the hospital in full getup, or did they at least like
The
take
head
him out
was
of
off.
the outfit.
Had to have taken the head off.
They took the. No, you can't do that because kids are gonna see
Yeah.
as he's being
So
going, and they're
they
gonna.
put him in the the ambulance with the head on, and then when they take off, he took the head off and left the rest of the outfit on for sure. Yeah.
I'm just thinking like he's getting wheeled out into the hospital, and he's like, "Someone grab my head! Someone grab my head!"
He's
Like
on
maybe
the stretcher, and the kids are like, "No,
they're
no."
putting the head back on him to wheel him inside.
Oh,
Kayfabe is not dead, according to NBA mascots, Dominic. But
yeah.
yeah. So what happened here? What was Connor doing, man?
I'd like to think that the second shot was not scripted. I think the second shot was it was improv by Conor McGregor, if you will, and that probably hurt the mascot. He definitely, you got to think that dude was probably just laying there, oh my gosh, I just did a bit with Conor McGregor, and then he's looking up and he's like, oh no. In the second, they said he is okay. He was discharged with pain medication. So, he didn't break his jaw or break his nose, but definitely probably a pretty major headache, I'd imagine, this weekend.
Yeah, when I saw that he was released with just pain meds, I'm like, so.
The storyline definitely got blew out of proportion, I'd say.
Well, yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. So he went to the hospital.
They said he
I'm
went
like,
to the ER, but leaves with pain meds. It's like, all right.
I'm like, okay, dude, maybe you were.
Does he get any money out of it? I wonder. Probably not.
That's the thing, Dom. Like, is this a money ploy by the old mascot? Is he trying? That money for the dick pills or whatever the hell Connor's doing with the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
I don't know. When you look into it, that's all I'm gonna say.
Right. Okay. Fight announcements.
Fight announcements. Few for Bellator v Ryzen, Dominic, on July 29th. I'm not sure here if it's actually July 29th or July 30th with time difference.
Oh,
but,
yeah, true.
I've seen both, so
hopefully it's not recorded,
We'll figure it out. Well, actually, it is July 29th. No, it is the same day as UFC 291 and Spence Crawford. So big combat.
What a day.
Yeah. So Danny Sabatello, Dominic, taking on Magomedov on this card,
a fight that makes sense.
as well as Andre Koreshkov taking on Lorenz Larkin. Dominic, I love both these fights. I knew you were going to love that Danny Sabatello fight because let us not forget, even though the guy, even though now I can't remember his name,
exactly.
Sabatello fought on the last Bellator card. I can't remember his name, but he did put up a good fight.
Yeah.
So evidently, when Dominic said who, he was right. Even though, hey, he's not talking shit about the guy's fighting ability. He's just saying he doesn't have a very memorable name.
Literally, who? Yeah.
But yeah, Dominic, those fights are going on for Bellator Ryzen, and then now we do have our Casey O'Neill, Viviane Araújo matchup that I had already talked about once before, and then Dominic corrected me. September 9th, UFC 293 in Sydney, Australia. Your thoughts, Dominic, on this?
No, that Bellator Rising card's fun, right? Because that's AJ and Pitbull. They're doing the inaugural flyweight title fight. Yep. Yeah, man. You put those two fights on, Danny and Magomed. Oof, that's a fascinating matchup to think about. And then Koreshkov and Larkin is just an absolute guaranteed banger. That's a great card, and I hope timing wise it works out well for us because that is I don't know if Noah's microphone is dead or what's going on, but I'm going to keep talking because I can't hear him. I think it's going to be a really, really good card. Bellator Rising, that co-promoted event. I think it's going to be fun. And then Casey and Viviane, that's a pretty good matchup. I like that. Casey coming off of her first loss. Viviane, I can't even really remember Viviane's last fight, but she's a very game opponent for Casey. Like, that's not an easy bounce back.
Kind of fade into like this win one, lose one.
Ooh, you're really low.
Yeah, I feel like Viviane Dom kind of fades into like this. I don't know if necessarily the win streaks like win one, lose one, win one, lose one, but she's yet to really get to like a prominent fight. Like she's had some solid fights with, like this one is like a Casey O'Neill. That's a solid fight, but she's yet to really win one to kind of get herself into something bigger. So, but she's still a tough out for anybody. Like you said, like this is not an easy fight for Casey O'Neill. At least it's not on paper.
Right. Yes.
And Koreshkov, Lorenz Larkin's not going to get the respect it deserves. But
not one bit.
I'll give it the respect it deserves. I love that fight. I actually like it more than Sabatello Magomedov.
It's going to be fun. That's for damn sure.
All right, let's get into Dominic's favorite segment of the week. It's time for Blazin Bets.
Yeah. This is bullshit. I never even signed a contract for this dumb competition.
Oh, Dom. Well, in case you can't tell by our reactions, I won again. Make that 4 in a row.
That'd be a whole month now, basically.
Yeah, 4-1. Dominic won the first round way back when. Nobody even remembers that anymore.
I don't even.
I've won 4 straight. However, though, Dominic, you did go positive this week. What did your units come out to?
Plus 1.63. So, I mean, yeah, I lost in the competition and go down 4-1, but damn, it just feels good to be in the green again. Maybe I can, I got that. Now I need to try and win these weeks. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I go out positive 2.32 units. Shout out Marc-Andre Barriault money line on the live spread. Dominic, I wish I could give you advice here from one betting man to another, but unfortunately, if I did, that'd be giving you an advantage, and I need everyone that I can get.
Mm-hmm.
I will only be happy if, when this year comes to an end, I am up like whatever that would be, 28-1. Like that's what I want.
If that's the case, don't expect me to be betting in 2024. Trust me. This segment will be gone. It will just be like Baker's bets, and Noah can just talk about his bets.
As far as the actual bets themselves, I go 4-3 on singles, 1-2 on parlays, positive 2.32. The Ige Landwehr fight was just a huge. That was a -2. Danny Ige, man, in round 2 looked like he had it there at the end, but unfortunately, it did not happen. But I also was like, God, I wanted to root for Landwehr so bad. Like I kind of felt like I was selling my soul on these Danny Ige props. So I'm kind of happy that they didn't happen, if that makes sense. But yeah, like parlay wise, I didn't do a very good job picking money lines like David Dvorak.
Me neither.
And the Maverick. Yeah, like those were just tough. I mean, the Imavov Curtis over 2.5 I think that would have been a push because of the no contest, I think. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Dominic's not helping me at all.
I have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Charles Oliveira money line, easy, plus 125. I mean, that was easy money. Aiemann Zahabi money line plus 100, plus 64 seconds. Didn't even have to sweat.
Yeah.
I took a risk with Malott. Fugitt under 1.5, but I didn't really feel like it was a risk. If I'm being honest, like with Mike Malott, I was like, what was crazy is I'm watching this with my family, and I'm kind of explaining things about different fighters to him. I'm like, yeah, my mom thought Mike Malott was hot, and I was like, yeah. I was like, he's only been out of the first round like one time, and it was the only fight that he has not. That it was the draw he went to. And then he went out the first round. I was like, of course, this is what's going to happen. I said, of course, I bet under 1.5. And now he wants to have another one. Nope. Didn't last too much longer. And he was able to put away Adam Fugitt. Overall, Dominic, it came down to 2 things when it was up. When we got to the co-main, since you didn't end up putting in another live bet, if Beneil Dariush or Irene Aldana had won, you would have won this week.
Yep.
Or if Irene had just put up a good fight and it was 48-47s across the board, then you still won.
That's true, because you had the spread.
So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it sucks. It comes down to just that live bet, though. I mean, to get that at +2, that's 2 units. That is a 2-unit switch that Noah hit. So, I mean, that's just good on him for finding that. I did well. I mean, I went 4-2. What did I go? I went 2-1 on straight up money lines and 2-1 on parlays. My parlay that missed was an 0-for-3 money line parlay. David Dvorak, Miranda Maverick, Blake Bilder. Wow, that sucks. When though, I mean, I'd rather lose all 3 than just lose one. To be quite honest with you. Exactly. So it is what it is. And I took the half unit sprinkle on Irene. It was never I never even had to I never had anything to hope for when I was watching the fight. I just knew all right, well, half unit down the drain. It is what it is. But all in all, I'm just glad I did well. I needed it so bad. I don't know the last time I've had a positive week. So plus 1.63 feels very, very good. But like I said at the top of this segment, now I just got to try and come back and get a victory, Noah. And do we have any information or confirmation on how Blazin Bets is going to work for this coming week? I know we kind of talked about it a little. I didn't know if you wanted to confirm it with the people or if you were still waiting to see.
Well, I'm in the state of Florida, so I will not be able to place any bets for this coming weekend. Cannoneer taking on Marvin Vittori, PFL, which we can't do in Ohio
Yeah, so
anyways,
lame,
so
dude.
no different than here. Bellator 297. So I
Yeah,
will
there
not.
is
It's a big. I mean, it's a big combat sports weekend, and I'm
Yeah,
unfortunately not going to be able to bet on any of it. So I basically am leaving it up to Dom. So I said when we originally started this, I said every week that we had cards, we had to do 3 bets.
right.
Now that was at the time, we just didn't know what to expect once we started getting going.
Right. Yeah.
Now that it's kind of gotten going, like I kind of like just allow as many or as little as you want
Yeah.
because I'm not going to have any. So basically, Dominic has to go positive this
Yeah.
week if
Noah
he
will
were to
just
do
be at
it.
0 units for this
And
week.
I just find the idea of me still getting a win over Dom without doing anything to be hilarious. And even if
Someone
he
give
didn't,
me one
but
lock. I'll bet a
if
minus
you,
500.
oh yeah, honestly, you could do that,
I
Dom.
could
You
just
could
bet a
literally,
minus
you
500.
could just bet like
One bet.
I'm allowing you to do that. I'm
So
leaving
the
it up
3
to
bet
you.
minimum does not really matter anymore, even for weeks where
I think
someone's not
I
betting
think for the most part we should try to stick to it, but
when
I
we're
also
both
feel like
going. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's like, we'll have weeks where we can, move the goalpost a little bit. And
Yeah.
Dominic, because I'm doing that, I know you're a man of high moral ethic code. So I know you're not going to accept a victory over, by betting a minus 1,000 or something.
Well,
So I know that you are going to put in your 3 bets and try to win the good way, like your father and his father before him taught you how to do.
it is time to start looking at the chalky Bellator lines, my friends. Let's go, baby. Come on, baby. It's gonna be if I lose when Noah is at 0 units, not doing any bets, I don't know if I'll be able to recover. I don't know. Mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, emotionally. I don't know. I don't know.
And
Right.
Dominic, and I'm glad that you know what I'm kind of glad I built the lead because Dominic. I mean, I was not very good last year at betting MMA. Dominic was better than me, so we know this is going to swing around eventually.
Oh yeah, there's a
Like
lot of weeks left.
there, and so Dominic inevitably could end up winning this thing. I mean, it's obviously it's only 4-1, but I'm just glad I built an early lead because Dom at first, the first couple weeks, he kept trying to go, "Oh, best man wins." Let's shake on it, old pal. Like,
Yeah.
I hope all our bets hit. I hope we both go positive and we both walk away winners with our head held high. And now that you've seen him start to lose people, you've seen that shed away. And
Yeah.
even our good buddy Jake Branson was texting me, and I was like, Branson. I said, Dominic must be happy that he won. He went positive, and he goes, "Yeah, but he really wanted to beat you, so I think he's still pissed off." I said, "Yep, I fucking knew it.
Yeah.
That little rat bastard trying to be old sportsmanship and old,
Yeah.
sportsmanship. My ass. I'm coming for your throat, Dom."
Yeah, I am now that picture of LeBron where he's bent over with the headband. That is me now for the rest of the year because I gotta win. I gotta win. I know there's a lot of weeks left, but this feels like a must-win week. No, I
Yeah.
ain't betting. I'm only down 3. I
The
can cut it
best
down to
win.
2. I gotta turn this shit around, Noah.
Hemi Salih
Gimme
coming in.
some-
Let's get into the final segment of the show, Dominic. The only segment we know how to end the show on. It's a little segment we like to call closing statements. Point of the show where me and Dominic talk about anything and everything, MMA related or not. And Dominic, I have to take it first.
Please do.
For anybody who's watching this who maybe lives on the western part of the United States or our international viewers, you may not understand the Bucky's phenomenon that is going
Here we
on in
go.
the Midwest and the South.
I was ready for this.
And I had been hearing about Bucky's for years. For years, Dominic, I would have people that I was friends with say, "Yeah, we went on a trip and we got in an Uber, and our Uber driver heard we never went to Buc-ee's. So the Uber driver went out of his way, did not charge them, and took them to Buc-ee's to force them to like see it."
Mm-hmm.
Which also kind of scary.
A little weird. Yeah.
Uber drivers should not reroute like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not in today's climate. But yeah, basically I'd been hearing a lot about it. And then my mom was talking to my aunt, and she was telling my mom, yeah, there's a Buc-ee's that you'll see it on the highway, like from the highway when you're driving by. And we had seen there was one in Kentucky. Well, that's not the one that she was talking about. So we kept driving, and I'm thinking, damn it, we're not going to see Buc-ee's.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got to good old Georgia, Dom.
Mm-hmm.
Got the good old Georgia. And we started seeing billboards. Dominic, I'm telling you, they had a billboard like every mile. That was just
Like it's
every
coming.
mile. And it would say like they had little things like bathroom so clean, make your mom smile. And I was like, oh man, we gotta go. We gotta
Yeah.
go to Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
It was amazing, man. It was a great experience. At the end of the day, it is a gas station.
Yeah.
But I get it. People are probably listening to us going, why are Midwestern and Southern folks getting so excited about a gas station? And just like I put on my Snapchat story, Dom, they wouldn't get it.
Right.
I did get this hat.
That is the hat, isn't it?
Yep,
Yeah.
Buc-ee's. So did buy a hat, bought some snacks. But they have so much there that I didn't even get to see. I went there to use the bathroom. The bathrooms were clean. My mom did smile. And but there was a ton of people, Dominic. I mean, the foot traffic through the bathrooms
Wow.
is worse than any Bowling Green bar, past 10 p.m.
Yeah.
But I didn't even see like half the place. But there was a ton of food you could buy, like freshly cooked food and stuff that people were eating outside. Didn't even see any of that. So I got to go back. That's what that means. I got a limited viewing experience, but it gets a 10 out of 10. And the fact is, Dominic, they didn't even have like an egregious amount of checkout counters.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we got our stuff, and I walked right up to a counter and got checked out right away. For as many people that were in there, and the fact that they got everybody through there so quickly, good on Buc-ee's. Also, their employees make a killing. The people who clean the bathrooms make like $19 an hour, and then Dominic. If you were like a general manager for a Buc-ee's, apparently you make upwards of $150,000 a year.
Wow.
The car wash manager, $175,000 a year.
Wow. They have car washes too, by the way. Wow.
Oh yeah. They weren't open, but they do have car washes and over 200 gas pumps. So
200 gas pumps.
Yep.
I can't even in my head try to fathom what that would look like. I need to be at a Buc-ee's.
And my mom's like looking for a parking spot, and I'm like, well, why don't you just park in one of these pumps? Like, just take one of the pumps.
200.
And she goes, no, I'm not taking a pump. We're not getting gas. And I'm like, Mom, I know, but I do it all the time. I'm like, just take a pump. Like this. And she goes, but someone else might need it. And I'm like, Mom, there's 200 pumps.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty. And she did not take it. So my mom is better than I am. But yeah, that was my Buc-ee's review, Dominic. If I'm going off the Joey scale, I would say it gets a 9.6 out of 10.
So 2 questions. Is it safe to say, 1, that it exceeded your expectations, and 2, you will be requesting to stop again on the way home?
I would say I had high expectations, and I would say it met every station, right? Like, do not go in here with like expectations of like that your life's gonna be changed. But is it the best stop that I had on my way to Florida? Yes, it was. And will I go back on the way back? I would like to.
Yeah.
Just depends if we time it up right. Now, my family, unlike Dom, who, Big Dave's just like, we're getting there. We ain't stopping. Hold your piss. Whatever. My family stops quite a bit. And I like that because, Dominic, from our trip to Chicago, your boy has
the bladder. Yeah.
Dominic tried to force me to hold my piss through like 30 minutes of driving. And I'm like, Dominic, I'm literally about to piss myself. I'm like, can you please? And then we park and we're getting out
We
of the
couldn't
car.
find where to park though.
And I'm still like freaking holding it. I'm like, we got to go. And Dominic's taking his sweet ass time, putting on his backpack, like putting everything on right. And I'm like, dude, I'm literally about to explode if we do not leave right now. No sense of urgency on Dom, but that's okay. Dom, I think he got thrown for a loop when we got in that standstill traffic. You were just not the same after that.
That's true. I saw red.
So, Dominic, your closing statement. You got anything?
I have none because that was quite a beautiful story that you told, and I think that's how we should end.
And I also messed up the scale. 96 out of 100 for the.
Of course,
Bucky's.
right.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the Cage Side Rewind, the next one that we have.
Yeah, Bucky's, everything else. My name's Noah Baker. That's Dominic Slee. We are but just two of the Below Average Joes, and we'll see you guys on Friday.